thank you for having me. Congrats on being in this room. That means you're taking that step further with higher in your education and being prepared for student success and ready for the job world. There's some things that I want to break down before I actually get into my story, right? And these are going to be some of the most important things that you want to remember as you go onto your entrepreneurship journey, right? So do you guys remember in grade school when they would make you draw a picture of what happiness means, right? You would draw like the house with the dog and the family holding each other's hands with the ray of suns coming through and the beautiful green yard. You guys remember that? Correct. So what I want to challenge you to do is draw what your happiness is. And what I mean by that is, what are the tangible and intangible things that will make you happy in the future? Is that the 5-bedroom home with 5 baths? Is it the Rolls Royce? Is it having 2 children? Is it having a dog, having 5 acres of land, having a savings account? I would draw that all into a picture, even if it's tangible things or intangible things. Why? Why is that important? Because in the future, when you are very successful with your business, you're going to want to remember what that drawing of happiness was. Because when you get to that stage of happiness where you accomplish those things, you need to be self-fulfilled and you need to be happy and say, look at myself, I've accomplished my dream. Why do I say that? I never drew my picture of happiness. So as I went on this entrepreneurship journey, I never was happy. I was chasing this unicorn of happiness when I had a family, I had land, I had the cars that I wanted, I had everything I wanted. And then I would get to this point and I'd just be like, what's the next thing? What's the next thing? So always stop and look at yourself and be happy about what you accomplished, all right? Make me that promise, because if you don't, you'll never be happy, and then things will start to deteriorate in your mind and your soul, and it can hurt a lot, all right? So next thing, you need to figure out whether you are an entrepreneur or an intrapreneur. And what the difference is entrepreneur is usually the crazy inventor guy or gal with a crazy idea that no one actually else believes or sees the vision. A very easy way to tell who the entrepreneurship person in your friends group is the one that usually says something very weird, and the rest of the friends are just quiet, like, but your friend sees the vision, but all the rest of you guys are just like, what is wrong with this guy? And if you're that person in that group, more than likely you're an entrepreneur. If you draw, if you come up with crazy ideas, if you wake up in the middle of the night with this idea and you rush to a notepad and write it down, you're probably the entrepreneur in the group. An intrapreneur is somebody who doesn't have the big vision or the great idea, the risk taking, but is a critical asset to the company. That's your chief marketing officer, chief information officer, your content director, the person that the entrepreneur needs help from to sustain the business. Some are entrepreneurs and intrapreneurs. I naturally had to be both because there was no amazing programs in entrepreneurship when I was in college. There was no such thing as entrepreneurship school. So you're very fortunate to actually have an entrepreneurship program here at GSU. So figure out who you are in that equation, because being an entrepreneur is just fine. You could be one of the first employees, right? And as the company grows, you can be very wealthy from just being the entrepreneur, the CMO, the CFO, or a critical part of the business, the engineer or something like that. So figure out where you work in that area, because if you don't have a real inventive mind, that doesn't mean you're not valuable to this world of business. All right. So those are my 2 set rules that I say remember as you go down your path. And if you don't really remember that, it's gonna get tougher if you don't set those those boundaries or labels to yourself with goals. So here's the exciting part. You guys get to hear my story today. My story is filled with a lot of laughs. There's cry moments, and there's beautiful moments that happen in my story. I was born in a very small country called St. Lucia. I actually used to be upset in grade school because they used to have those maps, the globes in class, and I'd be like trying to show my friend where the country is, and they literally didn't have it on the map. That's how small it is. It's a beautiful country. There's noble lords there. There's a drive-in volcano. There are people that are very innovative there because there is no Walmart. Well, when I was growing up, I'm not sure if they have it now, but when I was born, there was no Walmart. There was no hardware store. There were no stores that you can go buy this product and actually fix your problems. So many people on the island rely on what the island gives them to innovate, to make things, you know, all the way from toilets to fixing your home, or everything in the house is DIY. So if you want barbershop, your dad and your mom is everybody's been through a pandemic. So you've at least tried to cut your hair, and it probably wasn't an easy task. So beautiful parents. My dad, he's the DIY guy. When I want a haircut, he was the guy cutting my hair. In my country, called the cowboy, which is basically a buzz, you know, right? So I'm growing up through the years, and all the way up until 13, my dad's cutting my the dad. I'm sick of it. I'm trying to wear food below. I'm aging myself now. Like the green food. I'm trying to get the cool shoes. I'm trying to have the cool haircut. When I ask girls on a date, I want to be popular, and the buzz cut isn't cutting it. So, you know, my dad, for what he did with the buzz cut, it was great, but it was time to try a new haircut. And what did I do as a 13-year-old? I picked up the clipper and tried to cut my own hair. You guys can imagine how that came out, right? Cheetah spots, push back my hairline. Let's just say I got real good at wearing new era fitted caps. Like till this day, I still have a complex. Like I'll wear like a cowboy hat or like a cool looking hat, because all the way from when I was 13, it was me experimenting on my hair, pushing back my hairline and messing up, that created this complex. But one thing that's critical to this story is that my parents always instilled in me to ask why, what if, how come, how do I fix this, right? So from having that innovative spirit from being from St. Lucia, I started cutting up these templates out of detergent bottles or like folders. My dad's professor folders, don't tell him, although he is in the room right now. So he's learning a few things that went on. So my prototype was me cutting up these folders, because I realized the hardest part about cutting your hair was getting that perfect edge up. So I would take these templates, put it against my head and go crazy with the trimmer and the clipper, and I would end up with the perfect curve and the perfect lines. So I had solved my problem. And that's where I get to the first point of this talk. Always write down your problems. Many of you think that you're not an inventor out there, right? But all of us are inventors. I have a 5-year-old kid. He asks 200 questions a day. Why is he asking me why? What if? How come, Dad? Why can't we do this, Dad? Why are kids asking these questions? Is because it's really their mind trying to turn on an innovative, function to say, how are we going to fix this? And they're too young to understand there are fixes to these things. But when you ask these questions, which you're asking every day, how come I cross the street and I get hit by a car? Traffic light. How come I can't open this door properly? Door handle, So you're asking what if, how come, why is it that? Why can't I cut my hair perfectly? Why is it that my dad keeps on giving me these haircuts instead of these haircuts? If you're asking these questions, you're an inventor. So anytime that you ask yourself, how come, what if, why not, any type of question, I want you to go to a book, or well, you guys are a new generation with your iPhone with your notes, and I want you to write down that question into somewhere. Why? Why do you write down that question when you ask that question? Because you're gonna forget. If you don't go write it down, you're gonna forget, and then you're gonna see a late night commercial on PBS or whatever, and it's gonna be your invention, and then you're gonna become the I should have done that, or I thought of that person. And don't be that person, because we have all been that person, like, oh, I thought of that invention before. So if you ever have a question, write it down in the book. Now, I'm not asking you to solve your problem or your question right away. All I'm saying is write them down so you can remember, so that when you're on the toilet or when you're sleeping or when you're traveling or if you're walking across the street and you see inspiration, you might come up with the fix to your solution. So that's how I came up with the original product for the Cut Buddy, which my first patent was the hair guide template that you put against your head and you cut your hair. How dumb and easy is this thing that has sold, that is in over 1 million homes? This thing is simple. All of you have a Cut Buddy or better in your head right now. I am confident. So I'm gonna pass this around. This is one of my first prototypes as a kid that I used to cut my hair. Don't worry, I cleaned it many times. So yeah, as a kid, I was using this to cut my hair. 15 years went by where I was cutting my hair, edging up my hair before dates, before going to job interviews, before going to the club. I cut my roommate's hair. I even started cutting my brother's hair, things like that. 15 years went by. I never thought I actually had anything, because all I was trying to do is fix my own problem, all right? 15 years went by, and what I didn't realize what I was doing during the 15 years was research and development, all right? So during these 15 years, I was cutting it or changing an angle, using a different material, seeing what worked out, and unintentionally, I was doing research and development, all right? So 15 years goes by, moving into we're moving into a condo, right? In Fort Lauderdale. And my wife and I, we're trying to push a treadmill into the garage. My wife never uses a treadmill. She doesn't even use it till this day. But this treadmill would have become one of the greatest symbols of this story. Matter of fact, I should just get a treadmill tattoo on my neck next. That might be it. But anyway, we're pushing this treadmill into the garage, and it would not fit through these narrow doors. So we're trying to struggle. So I take the doors off of the hinges so we could finally push this treadmill into the garage. Struggle, get it in there. And then I'm so tired, and my wife is like, all right, put the door back on the hinges. The landlord is going to fine us, or we're gonna get in trouble if we don't have the door on the hinges. So I said, I'm tired, babe. I'll do it later. And she looked me dead in my eye and said, you never finish what you start. And that was very important, because whoever supports you in your life, who are your real friends, who are the down people, or who are your parents, or the people that you trust in the most, need to be those people that tell you you never finish what you start and push you forward. And she did that. And I took it way more serious than finish your chores and put the door back on the hinges. I took it as I was content in life. I was going out every weekend, drinking and partying in Fort Lauderdale, living La Vida Loca, going to my day job at Broward College, that paid decent just for me to pay the bills. And I was just getting by with this cycle of life, you know, pay my bills, party, pay my bills, party, pay my bills, party, and not having any type of savings or anything like that. So when she said that, it was like, you're too content. You're greater than this. You can be doing things way above just your day job. So at that point, I took it very serious, and I ran to a book that I've had for most of my life, which is the Inventor book, where I was writing down all the questions. How come? Why is it that? Why can't I cut my hair perfectly? Why can't I see a big screen TV? Why can't I turn a small screen TV into a big screen TV without buying a big screen TV? Why is it that my armpits sweat and there's no type of pad for armpits? These were all questions that I was asking. There's inventions for all these things in here. And I simply went to a patent attorney with this book. And I showed them, I said, I don't know anything about patents. I just want to protect my idea. And here's the item I want to protect. And it was simply just the first page of my Inventor book. It's not that I was like, yeah, this hairline tool thing that I have is gonna change the world. I literally was just like, can we patent this? So I filed a patent with a lawyer. Does everybody know what a patent is? Yeah? No? I'm still gonna explain what it is. So a patent is intellectual property that gives you the right for an amount of time and claims that you are the inventor, innovator of something, meaning that you've created something novel or new, or a new design or function to something, right? So there are different kinds of patents, all right? If you come up with an idea, you can either do a design patent or you could do a utility patent. Now, there are other patents, like patents for processes or patents for like chemicals and plants, but I don't know much about those areas. I know there's a biomedical engineer in here. You may be more in the area to look for patents for like a specific formula or a process or something like that. So I would contact an attorney for those things. But let's go through the normal patents. So like if you came up with a new way or design of a ruler to put against your head to cut your hair, there's always been rulers in the world. You're just changing the way a ruler looks, an ornamental configuration. That is a design patent, all right? Which are typically go for like $3,000 to $5,000 with a lawyer, right? And this is gonna cover you for about 25 years as you really try and hit the market hard. And if somebody copies you, you can sue them. We'll talk about that a little bit later, right? The other main patent is a utility patent. It's a stronger patent, more expensive patent, probably 5 to 10 grand. You could be spending $500,000 on it if you have like, if you invented like a new flying car, there's probably a bunch of claims within there that will cost a lot of money and lawyers will have to come up with claims. Utility patents have claims. That means they say you are the first to do this in this specific way. And lawyers write it really vague to encompass a whole industry. You never want to write a patent exactly what's going on, because when people start copying your idea, they're just going to try and change by like 10%. So when you write your utility patent, you want to be very vague. So you're creating that wall or the moat around your idea. Utility patent filing procedure, there's two parts of it. There is a provisional patent, and then there's a non-provisional patent. A provisional patent means I want to try out this idea for a year. I don't know if it's actually going to take off. Give me 1 year to try this thing out. And if it's not successful, I'll release the rights to this patent back out into the public, right? Those are usually cheap, like $15,000 to $2,000 to file, just so that you can try the industry out. The non-provisional patent is the full-on patent. When you file for that, you get 25 to 30 years of protection on an actual utility. A utility patent means you've created a new way or new process to actually do something. So if you actually created a function where you say there's a handle body that you turn and a lock unlocks and you're able to push the door open, that's a utility. If you created a door handle that's in the shape of a Power Ranger, that's a design patent. Design, ornamental look, utility, new function, new novel function of something out there, like mechanics, all right? So you need to figure out, and usually lawyers can do this for you. It's called a preliminary patent search to see if other companies have filed patents that are similar to yours, because there's no point in filing a patent if somebody already has a patent for it out there. However, the United States Patent and Trademark Office is free. So all of you could file patents yourself and trademarks yourself for free. You could actually look up all the patents in the world if you go on the uspto.gov website, or there's something called Google Patents. If you go on Google and you type in Google Patents, Google will turn into something called Google Patents, and you could search any invention ever on there to see if somebody else has come up with your idea. But the best way to find out for sure is to go to the uspto.gov website, because that's actually the government's filing area. So with the USPTO, you can also go on there and do preliminary patent search, okay? So does everybody kind of understand how patents work and what they are? There's design and utility, great. Now, many of you guys think that filing a patent means that you file a patent, you get approved for a patent, and then somebody copies you and you're like, got you. And then the government just kicks in their door and says, you're under arrest for copying John's patent. That's not how it works. The USPTO is just a filing cabinet. They're just giving you your credit that you are the one that invented it. The ball game about stopping people from infringing on your patent is a whole other world. Lawyers, money, 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 and money. So just because you have a patent doesn't mean that someone won't copy you, because most big brands will copy your idea and they'll realize that you're broke, and they're like, they're not gonna lawyer up and go to court for 12 years, you know? And if they do, I'm just gonna keep spending money on lawyers until they're broke. And that's how the world works in the United States Patent Office, which should change. It's a horrible situation. The US inventor has always been someone who has created basically life and growth in America. But when they get robbed of these ideas, nobody comes to their rescue, because it's all about big corporation and big business. So if you're gonna do a patent, make sure you have innovative ways to stop people from copying your idea. And we could talk about that in the class afterward, after this initial session. So let's go back. I filed a patent. I'm like, damn, I became an inventor. I'm really knee deep in this. Spent a lot of my money. My parents gave me a little bit of money. My grandma, rest in peace, gave me a little bit of money, which I feel like she didn't even have to just give like that. So I was like, the pressure was on. I was using all of my savings. And at that point, it's rope-a-dope. Do you guys know what rope-a-dope is? Ali, right? When Ali fought against George Foreman, he needed to be efficient with using his energy. So George Foreman would draw in, Ali would back up, and then he would strike efficiently. And that's how I felt. If I didn't strike efficiently or make real like guerrilla marketing moves or try and save money here and there, I could have been homeless. Hey, use my last of my money, and then I have to look at my grandma and say, it didn't work out. And I couldn't do that. So what I did was I got lucky with my product. And by the way, I tried to raise money. I tried to go to pitch competitions. I tried to talk to investors. Everybody was like, the cut, buddy, changing the world one hairline at a time? What is this? Everybody wanted to invest in the new apps or AI and things like that, you know? So I went to Black Enterprise Conference. I spoke and I told them about my invention. I was sure I was gonna win because my pitch was great. And they chose some guy that had some dating app. And none of those companies are still alive, by the way. So it's like, I got the last aha, and I keynoted Black Enterprises Conference just the other day. So I was like, I win at the end of the day. And the chief editor is my mentor now. So it's like, maybe it's good to lose. If you lose in the pitch competitions, it gives you that fire to say, man, these guys won, I'm gonna win, you know? So I tried to raise money, but nobody wanted to give it to me. So used up all my money. Now, when you have a CPG product or a consumer goods product, you have to start thinking about how to manufacture, right? So this is actually this is one of 3,000 products that first came to my garage in Fort Lauderdale. If you have a product, this water bottle, a phone case, the chairs you're sitting on, even the soles to the shoes that you're wearing, you have to create a mold, right? So that when they manufacture this product, they're pouring material in or they're stamping material and they're making a bunch of units for you, right? But to do that, you have to make a computer-aided design. And you guys know that as a CAD design, right? That's gonna be one of the most critical people you wanna link up with right away if you have an inventor, if you have an invention idea, is you wanna put it into a 3D format called a CAD. So you guys know about 3D printers. 3D printers print CAD designs. And I was talking to Dr. Graves and he said that you guys have lynda.com, which might be called LinkedIn University or something now. LinkedIn Learning. LinkedIn Learning is your best friend right now because as you're paying for your tuition here, you have an opportunity to go on LinkedIn Learning and learn how to do CAD design, learn how to do Adobe Illustrator, learn how to do anything like software-wise. Utilize that. You want to leave here knowing how to do simple graphic design because, or video editing or CAD design, because you can do that for free now. Because when you get out, the cost to hire these people is going to make you broke before you even start. So till this day, I still design all my packages. I edit my videos. I help with the CADs. And that has probably saved us over $3 million over the last few years because I don't need to depend on a very expensive firm to do things that are actually quite simple. It's not like I'm making a graphic design thing in Illustrator that's like complex. I'm really just putting pictures and creating like designs for a box. Anybody could do that. So I didn't know how to do CAD when I started the business, but I got lucky because my wife, her father makes CAD designs for the military. So this is what I always say is whenever you're looking for your wife or your husband at the first date, you just gotta make sure you ask them, what does your dad do? And if your dad says they do CAD design or they know graphic or something that's instrumental to your business, then you know you found the one. Because if they don't do nothing, there's like, next. You get on your app and find somebody else, right? No, I'm just playing with you. So I got lucky. He got my prototype that I passed around, and he did a CAD design of this within 1 hour. Yeah, within one. It was like child's play for him. And what you do with a CAD design is you send it to a manufacturer. and they're able to make a mold off of the CAD design. So it's like, imagine splitting your product in half and creating your product into empty cavity where they just pour like plastic or rubber or whatever into, and they join it up, and then you just got a bunch of widgets coming out. Finding a manufacturer, let's talk about that. Some of you are very national pride. I'm not going to China, I'm not going to India, I'm making it in America, right? Okay, that's cool if you want to spend a lot of money on your product. But at the same time, here's the thing. If you're making American flags, or I don't know if you're party affiliation, but if you're making Trump hats or whatever, they better be made in America. They better not say made in China on them, because that doesn't even make any sense to me. Matter of fact, a lot of the American flags you see, and then even when you saw some of the Trump hats, they said made in China. That doesn't make sense. So my thing is, if you're a nationalistic like brand, if it's like a military fatigue gear, or American like actual vision behind it, make it in America. All right, you're gonna have to pay more, but that is what you've put out there, is an American brand, right? So stick to it. However, if your product has no national ties to it, make it somewhere where it's cheap. And then you're gonna say, oh, if I make it in China, somebody's gonna copy my product in America. Well, if your product is great, you're gonna get copied regardless. And that's just a sign that you're doing something right, all right? But another thing is like, what does it take for me to be like, hey, bro, I'm gonna buy your invention on Amazon. I'm gonna buy your product on Amazon, send it to North Carolina, and I'm just gonna send it to China and have them copy your product. So just because you manufacture in the United States doesn't stop you from getting copied in China, India, Thailand, or anywhere. It's simply just put it in the mail and send it to a Chinese manufacturer to copy you. So your mind shouldn't be on anything about being copied. That shouldn't be the main reason why you choose not to or to manufacture in America or China. It should be about economics, should be about price. How much are you spending per unit? What is your mold cost? What is the lead time? Do you guys know what lead time is? Lead time is the time that it takes when you open up the job with a manufacturer to the time they give you all your items. That's your lead time. You have to factor in your boat time. Are you going to put it on a boat, on a container? You have to factor in what boat area are you going to, what dock are you going to bring your product on? If you really need the product, or if you can afford it, are you going to put your product on a plane and get it within 3 days or 1 day or 5 days? Those are all things that you got to think of. You can find manufacturers on Alibaba.com. There's also globalsources.com. I use Global Sources because they actually had a pre-assessment that allows me to type in what I need specifically. And it's like dating, and it matches you up with manufacturers and you work with them, all right? So back to the story. I manufactured my products. 3,000 units show up into this garage right next to the treadmill. Yeah, I'm trying to see if the pizza got them, and you're gonna answer. No more answering. All right. But it's right next to that treadmill that we still don't use up till this day. All right. So 3,000 boxes show up. I remember my parents, my grandma's like, all them boxes, damn, like you're in it now. You're an entrepreneur now. You got no choice but to sell these things. So the only thing I knew to do was to take my product. By the way, this is what the product turned into from what I passed around. To take my product and start using it on these, it's in a shabby shape, but sorry, pass it around. But that's one of the original ones I manufactured. And all I knew was to get to people via social media. So this becomes the next part of the learning area is You have to choose the channels that vibe with your product and your message the most, right? So my product's problem statement was, how do I cut my hair perfectly? My solution was a template tool to cut my hair better and be more exact with my curves, right? Now, when you apply your problem statement to a channel, a social media channel, that's how you can tell which one to choose. So my problem statement was, I do not know how to cut hair. How do I cut my hair better? Where would you go on social media or on the internet to type in, how do I cut my hair? YouTube, there you go. So that was easy for me to tell. Tutorial, people are gonna go here because they want to learn how to cut hair. So you have to break down your problem statement in a way that you can tell which channel works for you. That might be Snapchat, that might be TikTok, that might be Instagram, you know? Each of you will be able to tell where it vibes with the best, all right? Then you need to tell which markets you're gonna sell in. So naturally, I started on Shopify. Does everybody know what Shopify is? Shopify is a website authoring system, or you can buy domains on there. You could also buy domains on GoDaddy. Actually, I started on Wix, which was a big mistake. Do not ever start a merchant store on Wix. I hope Wix is not one of you guys' funding partners or sponsors, but do not start on Wix because the merchant portal is not set up for success or growth. Shopify is the best place to start an actual store. It's very easy to build a website on Shopify. There are a lot of templates. It's almost like working in PowerPoint. And Amazon. Many of you guys may not know about the foundation of what Amazon is, because a lot of people are like, Amazon's the worst company. They're taking our jobs. They're taking away mom and pop stuff and everything. They have these products and they copy people and stuff. Well, Amazon is actually a place where us sellers sell our product on. Amazon is just a platform. Amazon isn't manufacturing the products. So realistically, if you got a mom and pop store and you're not putting your stuff on Amazon, you're shooting yourself in the foot. So Amazon has a couple of programs. They have FBA and FBM, right? FBA is fulfilled by merchant. FBM is fulfilled by merchant. FBA is fulfilled by Amazon. Fulfilled by Amazon means I got a bunch of products in my garage. I send a bunch of products to Amazon, and Amazon's employees, every time an order comes in, will set up the boxes, put it on a Prime jet or whatever, and it gets to your house in 1 to 2 days. That's how that happens. Prime deliveries are based on FBA, fulfilled by Amazon setups. Fulfilled by merchant means that when somebody orders on Amazon, it gives you a notification on your website, and you yourself in your house actually put it in a folder, in an envelope, and you send it out to the customer, which is gonna take way longer than what Amazon's gonna be able to do. So I always recommend you do FBA when you start getting traction, at least. So I started the business with 3,000 units. All I knew was to cut my own hair with these cool rap videos and stuff, cutting my hair. And I'm 28 at the time when I started the business, and I'm feeling myself in these videos, and they're getting views. I start getting a little bit of sales. I'm gonna pay off my Hyundai Sonata with this money, you know, okay. Start seeing the comments coming in on my YouTube videos. Yo, he got a 5 head. Yo, his joint look like Vegeta. Yo, he's ahead of his class. I'm like, man, that one was innovative because it hurt me at the same time. And I was like, damn, what an asshole, you know? Do you guys know what was happening right when I launched my company at 28 years old? You can kind of see it in this picture here. I had to like put a bunch of fibers and like paint on my head to make it look like I had a hairline. I started going bald. I have a hairline tool. I have a hairline tool and I'm going bald. How am I supposed to do this? I want to sell a hairline tool and I'm going bald and people are roasting me. So I started getting depressed because I was like, man, like I can't have people roasting me. I'm going bald. I got a hairline tool. I was ready to give up, honestly, because I'm like, this just ain't gonna work. But the most beautiful thing happened probably a week later, and I got an email from a disabled veteran that said, I take medication and my hands shake. And because my hands shake, I can never cut my hair perfectly. I bought your tool and now I can steady my hand and cut my hair perfectly. And I just want to thank you for making such a beautiful tool, because now people with disabilities can have nice haircuts too. And at a time when I was ready to just give up, and to get this email, it really lit a fire in my stomach, because I realized being an entrepreneur and starting a business is not about yourself and getting rich. It's about the mission of your company and helping others with an invention that you've created to help them. I never knew that the actual mission was to give somebody self-esteem through a haircut in an affordable way so that they could feel confident and do things better in life or make things easier for themselves. I never sat back and created a mission statement. And that was the day that I actually created a mission statement for my company, because I started looking at some of the reviews on Amazon. There were mothers with 2 autistic children. There were service members that had to stay in standard or else they'd get in trouble with the military. Disabled veterans, single fathers, barbers who were learning how to cut hair, retired people in nursing homes that their caregiver was cutting their hair. And it was at that point that I actually realized who my target demo was, because I really just thought it was African Black people who had hairlines. That's what I thought. But when I started looking at these reviews, I realized, oh, there's white people with beards, there's disabled people, there are people serving in the military, there's mothers with kids with disabilities. So I started breaking down those demographics into actual markets, and that's your target market, right? So you can see I kind of did a lot of this backwards because there was no entrepreneurship training. You're learning a lot of this stuff in this class here, but I had to learn this by running through the fire and the thorn bush. I had to learn all the things you guys are learning here. So by breaking down these demographics, I realized that most of the orders were coming from African Americans with waves in their hair, which I used to have the tightest waves back in the day. I'm telling you, man, like that. I think that's why I have my wife now, because it's the waves. I'm telling you, I used to put a whole can of Murray's grease in my hair. It'd take like 3 years to wash it out in the shower. You know. So once you define these segments of your main customer, so you're like guys with waves, bald men with beards, people with disabilities, service members. I was like, those seem to be the hottest areas where people are buying my product. That's when you can start matching up those profiles to influencers. So I went out on YouTube, I typed in my problem statement, how do I cut my hair with waves? How do I cut my hair with disabilities? And it showed me all the people with disabilities cutting their hair, people with waves cutting their hair. And those were the people that I utilized as my influencers, right? And I did influencer and affiliate marketing. Affiliate marketing, do you guys know what that is? Affiliate marketing is where you give somebody a piece of the action for selling your product, right? So I reached out to influencers on YouTube, and this was before influencers got fresh, because now they got people in their dorm room with 17 followers being like, yeah, I charge $2,000 a video. I'll be like, bruh, for real? Stop it, you know? But back then it was still like a new industry. So like people would take a free product and review it. And it's still like that. It's just different. It's segments of influencers now. There's the macro influencer who got many tens of thousands to millions of followers. There's the micro influencer who probably has 5 to 30,000 followers. And there's the nano influencer who got somewhere from 0 to 15,000 followers. It goes down in the nano influencers world. Why? When you're too big, macro influencer, Kim Kardashian, Odell Beckham, whatever stars that you see, Tom Cruise or whatever, when you're a big influencer and you send a message to say, buy these Cut Buddy shoes, it's a wide cast net to millions of people, and you're not hitting target markets. You're just sending a wide cast net and spending a lot of money and hoping that it catches on. The nano influencer, if you actually yourself go on YouTube and subscribe to a nano influencer's channel, is because you really thought that there was value. There's cult following to nano influencers. When you really want to learn how to cut your hair or get waves in your hair, put twists in your hair, or fix a computer or edit a video, you're gonna follow those people that speak to you directly because they are you. They're an extension of you. They look like you, they speak like you. So whenever they tell you, yeah, buy this Pentium 5 processor for this computer, this is what I did, you're gonna go buy the Pentium 5 processor because you've now become part of their cult. So when you start your business, you want to find the nano influencers that are professional, but speak to brands, but don't oversell, you know? So that's where we started going to. And I hired four influencers: Nick Wavy, 360 Wave Process, Beard Gang, and a guy named West Style. So some of you, if you've ever had waves in your hair, you probably know some of those guys as the Mount Rushmores now of waves or whatever. It was messed up. I went to New York City with Nick Wavy. I had just gotten off Shark Tank and I was feeling myself like, yeah, mad people are gonna recognize me. Everybody was like, yo, was that Nick Wavy? Like, yeah, but look at, you know, so happened to me in St. Lucia too, with my uncle. He's on the news and I'm like, I'm the guy on Shark Tank. And they're like, oh, are you Winston Springer? I'm like, just want to get my 15 minutes of fame. So with those influencers, I set up an affiliate marketing model where I said, I'll give you I'm dead. You have to be honest. I'm dead broke. I have this invention. I don't have much of a budget, but how about I send it to you and we'll set up something where you can get 10% on each sale, and you get a 10% coupon to give to your customers. And that's how we'll work it out, right? You're gonna get a lot of no's. And then you're gonna get a few yeses. I got 4 great yeses, sent them the product. They started doing the product videos. They gave the code out, started following their sales. Sales went from like 4 sales a day after people called my head Vegeta, 10 sales a day, 50 sales a day, 100 sales a day, 400 sales a day. I mean, I'm packing these things like crazy after my job and running to the post office. They're calling me Mr. Cut Buddy at that point. I knew I was onto something. And on March 6th, nope, sorry, that's a lie. I wanted to like juice the story to make it better. It was March 5th, but it continued until March 6th. So we are here on the anniversary of the day that my phone went buzz, 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 ding, 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 ding. And I'm looking at my phone, Galaxy S3 or whatever it is, and it's overheating. And I open it up, and the first thing I see is my friend who I haven't talked to in 12 years said, yo, I was on a basketball court, and this guy stopped the game, and he said, yo, your hairline is messed up. You need this, the cut buddy. And he said, is this your product? Because someone stopped the whole game to show me this product. And I was like, how the hell did he see this video? Then I started reading a bunch of like Facebook notifications. And then I looked at my email, and there's just like thousands of emails saying, congratulations, Wix has your order number, blah. So on that day, can you guess what happened to me? What is that event called when things culminate the right way on social media and explode? There you go. I went viral, and that was in the days where viral wasn't even like a thing. So I hit 12 million views on a video within a few hours, which sparked thousands of sales. And at that point, I only had 300 units in my garage. I didn't know how to manage inventory. I'm glad I didn't know how to manage inventory, because if I had stopped the website, I would have never actually been here today. But we sold 4,000 units from March 5th to March 6th. So that's why today's pretty important for me. I was getting on a plane to go to vacation in Italy. No, sorry, back up. I went to Avatar Cirque du Soleil for my mother-in-law's birthday on this day, and I don't remember not one bit of the show because my head was hot. I was like, what is this? I don't have enough products. Am I rich? What is going on here? So it was like life-changing moment. I didn't even know how to get myself together. So we went viral, and that's where things really changed. And up to now, I've spent zero on marketing, right? And then I've spent a few $1,000s on manufacturing the product. So it was a nice flip. And then on top of it, I spent $1 to make the product, and I was selling it at $14.99. So life changed for me really quickly. I told my job, kick rocks. I was like, I retire. And they had a retirement party for me straight up. But one thing I'll tell you is, many of you are gonna graduate here and go to a job. Don't feel any kind of weight as like, man, I didn't come up with my invention before I left college. I gotta go work this job. No, because I graduated in 2008 in the worst recession. I got out, I had to go log people in on a computer at FAU for minimum wage. Out of college with a college degree. I had to live with my parents for 4 years. It sucked. But as I got these jobs and moved up, I went from logging people on. And when I was at FAU, I would go into lynda.com and I would learn graphic design and video editing and all types of programs because it was free there. Then I went and worked in the finance office. I started learning about budgets and managing payroll and stuff like that, and balance sheets and income statements. Then I went to Broward College and started working in professional development, which allowed me to stand in front of professors and teach them how to teach. Yeah, so we had to teach them techniques on how to engage students, or we had to teach them about sexual harassment. We had to teach them about leadership. We had to teach them about so many different things in the professional development department. So if you leave here today and you go work a job, you're just sharpening your swords. So this degree is to get so that you can go sharpen those swords so you could go to war one day when you come up with that brilliant idea, or when you join the war with your entrepreneur friend that everybody laughs at with these crazy ideas that they have on Friday night when you guys are taking shots or something, all right? So, company went viral. And at that point, when you go viral, we're running out of time? 1:30? So how many more minutes? We're done? Okay, well.
So we had this advertised from 12:30 to 1:30. It is now 1:30. Joshua's going to stick around though for another hour with my class. So if you're in the entrepreneurial thinking class, we're going to have more of a conversation and answer questions and answers as well. So we'll continue, but we started a little bit late, so we'll give 5 more minutes to wrap up this portion. And then if you're not in the class, you're free to leave at that point. And then we're going to continue the conversation with more for Joshua. Also wanted to mention, in the interest of full disclosure, I've been invested in the company, but have been a fan for a long time, like Joshua mentioned, and we have a gift for him as well. Thank you for coming. We'll present this to you now, let you wrap up.
Thank you. Appreciate it. Nice. Thank you so much.
Yeah. So if you want to wrap up the next 5 minutes or so,
Yeah.
and then we'll do the Q&A. Thanks.
So naturally, when your product goes viral, that's when you don't have to spend a lot of money on PR, because Forbes, GQ, Black Enterprise, all the big major outlets are going to rush to you and start writing about you. So this is just a way to hack the system where you're not paying a lot of money because you're bootstrapping this company with your own money. There's ways to get by without spending much money. From getting all these news outlets to cover our story is how we ended up on Shark Tank, because Shark Tank knew about us and it was an easy decision. This is where things get kind of dicey for me, but I'll go ahead and say it because whatever. My co-owner emailed Mark Cuban, right? We emailed Mark Cuban. Mark Cuban did not reply. I didn't actually think he would even reply to me. But Mark Cuban forwarded his email to Shark Tank. And Shark Tank called me the next day saying, you know, Mark, if he had replied to your email, you would not be allowed to be on Shark Tank. So Mark, in the interest of things, forwarded your email to us. Are you interested in being on the show? So that's how all that actually ended up happening. And Shark Tank called us and said, do you want to be on the show? We've actually heard of your company. We've read the Forbes article, the NPR, how I built this stuff. So that's how I ended up on Shark Tank. 5 months later, I'm practicing every day. They call you. They start with 30,000 people. They call you every week. So you got to be on your P's and Q's, and they say, let's hear your pitch. Let's hear about your company. And if you're not on, they cut you. And it goes all the way down to 200 people. And then they send 200 people out to LA, old LA, Culver City, and you shoot. And you got to be out there for like 20 hours, nervous as hell, because they got you in a trailer, they got you in the green room, and then you're like, damn it, you got to take off your shirt, you're hot and all types of stuff. So you go out there and you stand on this piece of tape, and the cameras are adjusting and the sharks are looking at you just like you guys are like, look at this guy, nervous, he's about to mess up, watch. Like they're smirking at you, and then they wait for 2 minutes as the cameras adjust, and you're standing there like, I don't remember my pitch. I don't remember what I'm gonna say. And then they're like, action. And then you're like, overdrive. Your mind goes into that. Some of you that have been athletes, when your body is just ready to go in prime mode, even if you're nervous, you just explode. And that's when you perform. So I got a chance to be on Shark Tank season 9. Mr. Wonderful gave me an offer, but he was bald and he didn't understand my product. But he gave me a great offer. And Daymond was my idol because I used to wear my FUBU, my platinum FUBU and Fat Albert FUBU. So I'm going with Daymond. Plus he has Trinidad blood in him. So I'm like, all right. So I begged for Daymond to be my partner. I cried a bunch of times on the show, and I did a deal with Daymond. And for those of you who are going to stay here after, this is where we get into talking about how you get into retail through licensing, and also how you get into Walmart and Target and things like that, and what it takes to be in those stores. So naturally, E2C, which is direct to the consumer, which is your website, eBay, Amazon, Etsy, any of those things that go directly where you're picking and you're packing a product and you're sending it out to them. By the way, the affiliate marketing app that I use is called Lead Dino, and it integrates into Shopify. The shipping app that I used on Shopify was ShipStation, and they give you a heavy discount on UPS and FedEx labels, like 60%. You don't want to be paying retail price for these labels because it's going to add up. And where I buy all my packages and my boxes, it's called Uline. Although I don't like their politics beyond that, but they're a great company as far as the stuff that they send. So Uline is where I get my envelopes and my boxes and stuff like that, where I used to, because now I have a warehouse, right? So as you're growing this company, you were traditionally doing D2C. Now you're trying to sell to either a distributor, another business, a retailer, or a different kind of customer, right? So let me take you through the steps of those things. But first, I'm going to talk about how my product actually made it to heavy distribution. So first thing I did when I went viral and things took off is I hired something called a 3PL. And all this is a fulfillment warehouse, right? So instead of me having sit in my garage on this treadmill trying to pack all these orders, you hire something called a 3PL or a fulfillment center, and you send all your product to the center, and they integrate into your website or into any order system so that they see all your orders every day, and they pack the products and they send it out for you. That's going to free up your bandwidth to actually do the things that you're good at. Because you don't want to spend your whole, I got friends that viral Instagram guys that literally are hard-headed and they're still packing their product at home. And I'm like, you can free up 5 hours of your day to do more content, more marketing, or invent more products, but you've chosen to sit there printing this label from your Dymo or your Rollo printer, which are two brands that you should get if you're trying to get a printer. Zebra, there's Dyno, and then there's Rollo. Just giving you all the nuts and bolts. Spending all day when you could just get a fulfillment center to do these things for you, all right? So get a fulfillment center, free up your bandwidth, and that way you can start doing more growth moves. You can start meeting with distributors. You can start meeting with licensing partners or retailers, right? So my journey was through licensing, right? That's where I actually went from making great money to making the best money in my life without doing anything. So if you have an invention, the easiest way to make money without doing anything is licensing. And many people, like many of these programs lie to you online, or like you'll see InventRight or like Invent Launch or whatever. Don't jump into that stuff. What they're trying to tell you is you're going to invent something and they're going to take it and they're going to boom it for you right away. There's no such thing as that. Many people think you will invent something and you will license it the next day. That does not happen. How it naturally happens is if you invent something and another company sees value, or you're taking market share away from their sales. If you become a threat, or if you become just a natural sister or brother to this company. So for me, I had a shaping tool that you shape your hair. Naturally, what product would you sell this product with? Clippers, right? Clippers and trimmers. So a clipper and trimmer company called Andis. There's Andis, there's Wall, there's Conair. You guys have a Remington or Phillips. You guys have one of those in your house right now, a Revlon or whatever. Well, Andis, I reached out to Andis. And how did I reach out to Andis? This is where we're getting deep. I'm a stalker. Like, I get sick with stalking people for business stuff, right? I'll follow the CEO of a company. And then on LinkedIn, when you follow and you connect to somebody, you can see all their connections. And what they don't realize is the CEO built this brand for years and connected to all the Walmart buyers, all the Sally buyers, all the Target buyers, all the main people that they talk to that give them millions of dollars a year. They don't realize that they're giving it away by you being able to see their connections on LinkedIn. So I literally connected to the CEO of some companies, competitors, and I looked at their whole friends list on LinkedIn and I hit connect on all 1,000 or 500 of those people. And I became them. So I just saved myself 7 years of connections because I became them. So that's a hack. Go on LinkedIn, literally find a competitor to your product, connect with the CEO or the CMO, and then when it says, congratulations, you're connected, go and click on their friends list and press connect on everybody that looks important on there, because that's where the millions of dollars are going to come in for your business. All right. So I went on LinkedIn. I found the chief marketing officer or the chief innovation officer at Andis. I connected with him and the conversation started on LinkedIn and then it went to email. And this was all happening during the time with Shark Tank, right? So basically I said, look, Amazon has said, or if you even go on Google, it has said products that are frequently bought together, the Cut Buddy shaping tool and the Andis T outliner, right? Which is a trimmer. I said, it's plain as day. Amazon is telling us through its algorithm that people are buying my product first and then buying your product. And I told him, that's where you sell fear at this point. That's a very important thing. You sell fear. You say, people don't want to cut their own hair. Why? Because they're afraid to mess up. So why don't I take care of that fear for you and you put my product in your package and you license my idea? It was a pretty easy idea for them there because they're like, yeah, it says it on Amazon, it says it on Google that we should be paired up as a product because people are buying our product together. So how we set up the deal was basically they manufacture and they cut me a percentage of the sales on the combined unit that they were selling, right? And that product actually did very well, the best it's done in Walmart and Target and all the stores. So now they knew, oh crap, this product fixed an actual issue we had, was the fear of people cutting their hair. So now people are going there because they feel they can cut their hair and edge their hair up because there's a little cheat code tool inside of there. So licensing basically means they take your patent because they can't copy you because they're afraid you'll sue or put them on the news or whatever. They take your patent and they rent your idea and they cut you a check. So at that point in my life, I moved to North Carolina, I lived on a farm and I was just collecting tens of thousands of dollars a month, just for doing nothing, you know? So that was the easiest way. If you ever want to just kind of just sit back and make this steady income off of an idea, licensing is the way to do it. But what I would say is launch that product and get some traction so that your competitors feel threatened by you, or your natural sister or brother companies will be like, yeah, this is a natural marriage that needs to happen. All right. Does anybody have any questions about licensing? No? Correct. Well, I'm not trying to get assassinated by InventRight, but basically what InventRight does is you send your idea to them. They're probably going to want a percentage of your proceeds. And most people that I know have gone through InventRight, they get all the way to the CAD part where they do the CAD design, and then the person either runs out of money or InventRight doesn't help them. So you actually never even make it to a point to even be licensed by anybody, you know? If it was that easy, we'd know a lot more people from InventRight that were successful with licensing, you know?
Hey, Joshua, thanks for sharing your story so far. really enjoying hearing about your entrepreneurial journey. I just wanted to ask you about the kind of pillars of a licensing deal. Like, are there like major kind of pillars of a licensing deal? Or maybe you can speak on the pillars that applied to your deal while you were collecting in North Carolina.
Yeah. So there's different ways to do licensing deals. So the traditional way to do licensing is that a company does like a reverse rental of names. So it's like, let's just say Andis wanted to license my product. They would say, manufacture us 100,000 units and put our name on your product, and then we'll buy it from you at this wholesale distributor price, right? So you're still the manufacturer, you're still doing all the work, but you're sending it to them and they're putting it in the package. Then there's the other kind of licensing where they said, send us the CADs, send us the designs, let's sign the contract. We're going to take care of all the manufacturing because it's just easier. And we're going to put it in our product and you just sit back and we'll send you a check when the sales come in every quarter or whatever. Correct. That's a much easier way to do it. However, there's pros and cons. So with the deal where you're making them a wholesale or distributor product, you can set the price. So you can make a little bit more profit, because if you're making the product for $1, you could tell them I made it for $1.75. But with the one where they're making the product, they know how much the product costs to make. So they'll just tell you, we're only going to give you 2 cents per unit, you know? So those are the pros and cons. Licensing contracts are broken down into duration and performance usually. So like you can say a 3-year exclusive rights contract, meaning that this company A will license your product and nobody else can make a product like this. They're the only ones that can be selling this product because they have exclusive rights. Non-exclusive which is what I did, means the Cut Buddy can continue to sell their own products, but now this company is going to put their product, my product, in their package. So like basically you're kind of competing with them, but you're not, you know? My phone, the FBI is listening. They say, you're talking too much about these licensing things. Even you, Bixby. All right, there we go. Bixby's the feds, I'm telling you. That's licensing. So like, those are the 2 kinds of licensing. And then there's also the performance-based licensing. So you always want to put a performance clause in your licensing deal because you don't want to get played where they take your item and dock it and never do anything with it. So you got to be like, every year you have to sell 100,000 units or else we can jump out of this deal, you know? So the beautiful thing about the licensing deal with my company is it allowed me to get Daymond involved from Shark Tank. And when you involve a shark, a licensing deal, and a nice story, then Shark Tank calls again and says, yo, we want to shoot a follow-up with you with Walmart and Andis and Daymond. Then you get to be on TV on prime time again. And that's the whole thing. I hacked this whole system without paying much for marketing up until a certain point, because imagine having to spend for 15 minutes at 8 p.m. on ABC. How much do you think you'd have to spend for advertising if you were just a company? Probably $15, $20 million. So I got $15, $20 million of free advertising twice, you know? Yeah, you know, so you just got to learn how to hack the system and check out where the opportunities are, you know? So how did my brand go from being a licensed brand to being its own brand in Walmart, Target, and all these stores, right? So what happened was the 3 years of the licensing deal went by, right? And I was comfortable. I was going to renew the licensing deal. Shout out to Andis. I was their first licensing client. small Black brand, and this is a 100-year-old family brand. They don't let other people into their sphere. So shout out to them for giving me the opportunity. But I sat there for 3 years, and then during COVID, like I'm watching these things like Colin Kaepernick, I'm watching the George Floyd stuff, and I'm like, yo, like all we're trying to ask for is a voice to have the rights to talk about our stories and be respected for our stories. And I watched the George Floyd thing, and that was at the moment where I was like, it took this for all these corporations to start to say, oh, that was wrong. Now we're going to be putting 2 billion or 1 billion towards minority-led brands or veteran brands or LGBT brands or Latinx brands. Like, it took that for these companies to start to listen. And at that point, when I sat there and I was like, man, I gotta tell this story. I gotta be some type of inspiration to people who look like me. And I've had this opportunity, and I've just sat on the sidelines at my truffle farm collecting this check in the middle of the country in North Carolina. I felt like I was not being helpful to the story, you know? So that was when I actually springed up, and I contacted Walmart, and I was like, listen, I've had this licensing deal, but it's done, it's expired. Am I a brand or a leader that you think you can amplify my story for? And they were like, yeah, we love your brand. Like, you've helped the sales for this company, and we've watched your story, and we'd love to have you. So that was my first opportunity to actually get what's currently in Walmart is the Cut Buddy shaping tool. Was my first product that they took on. And that is where life changes from just that $500,000 company or like you collecting a licensing check to your company making M's. You know, like that's where things get crappy for you because your mental health really gets challenged in this. And then there's times you don't even want to do it anymore because you're no longer who you were when you started the company as an inventor who liked to make cool products and make people confident and happy. Now you're a CEO. And I'll tell you right now, I suck at being CEO. I hate having tough conversations. I hate disciplining employees. I hate yelling at manufacturers. I hate being late delivering my products to Walmart. I hate that. I don't like being a CEO. I like inventing things and taking the risk and filling gaps in industries. So that's why I was talking to you earlier and said, are you the entrepreneur? Are you the intrapreneur? And right now I need more entrepreneurs because I don't want to be the CEO. As bad as that sounds, I have to be the CEO. I have to act like it. I have to be tough. I have to make it work. But I just want to invent products. So my product, that product is in a bunch of stores from Target, Walmart, military stores all over the world. And what Walmart and Target afforded me to do, like what I was able to do now was to expand my product line. So I was a one-trick pony for 6-7 years, up until 2 years ago. I started doing more selfish inventions. I got back on the horse and said, you know what? I need to start inventing more things. So that's where naturally we started inventing shavers and clippers and stuff. So we started refining what our mission and what we were trying to solve. We're trying to make haircuts and shaving easy, but we built our company off of a pillar of accessibility and ease of use, right? Accessibility and ease of use. So now we design products focused for people with disabilities or people with dexterity issues, because if I have a dexterity issue and I could use this shaver very easy because it's ergonomic, imagine someone who doesn't have a dexterity issue. It's like saying wheelchair ramp into a building. You've made the building accessible, right? Well, somebody that can walk normally can easily walk and still. So if you build the pillar for people based on products that are accessible, you're building products for everybody. Now that touches a lot of hearts because now you're building products for people with disabilities. And that makes it a lot easier for retailers and buyers to say, yeah, we need this brand in here because they're inclusive. They're actually thinking about things where they're not making the fastest or coolest, although my shaver does look cooler than any other shaver, but they're not making the fastest or the coolest shaver. They're making the most practical shaver. The most practical shaver for the job. Everybody, all of us want a Lamborghini or Ferrari, but is that practical if you live on a farm? No, I know that firsthand. Don't ever drive a Lamborghini on a farm. Anyway, but you want a pickup truck, or you want a minivan, or you want a different kind of car. You have to be practical. If you think about practical usage of products, then you're going to be able to serve more people, and buyers at Walmart and Target are going to say, you're filling something called a white space. And that's the space where they do not have a product for, a gap. All right. Now let's break down what retail is. How do you get to retail? A, you find a CEO of a competing company, connect with them, and then follow every single person on their list. Because if I go to the CEO of Wall or Remington or whatever, and I look at their friends list on LinkedIn right now, I bet you there's a vice president for buying or merchandise at Walmart. I bet you there's a vice president of buying and merchandise at Target. Literally, they're giving you all the answers to who you need to contact to get your product in the stores. So you're trying to find a buyer, a category buyer. Usually it's a director of merchandise, a category buyer, a lead buyer, or a lead merchant. Those are the jobs that you're looking for within the store you want your product in. It could be Home Depot, it could be Ace Hardware, it could be Walmart, Target. They all have the same names. You connect with that person, and that's where you send them like your pitch deck or your product deck and your performance. And what they do every year is called something called a line review. So Walmart has line reviews twice a year. Walmart has a line review twice a year for the beauty and personal care, which is in March or May. And then they also do one in November. What a line review is you going to Bentonville or to wherever the headquarters, Minnesota, or Denton for Sally Beauty. You go there, you sit in front of these buyers, and you convince them why your product fills a white space. And how do you do that? You sell fear. You sell fear. And how I've become a pro at selling fear off of the littlest things. Okay, so here's a clipper, a corded clipper that has a metal blade, right? They've been doing this for 100 years, a metal blade that cuts perfectly, trims nicely. There's nothing wrong with it. But my clipper has a ceramic blade, and it stays quiet, it doesn't get hot, and it stays sharp. You can't have companies selling clippers with metal blades because they're gonna make sounds and kids are gonna get afraid and it's not gonna be good. You're gonna mess up cutting their hair. You need one with a ceramic blade. You don't need a clipper with a ceramic blade. But I've become good at selling that fear to this buyer who knows less about my world than I do. So I'm going to sell you on the ceramic blade to a point where you're like, yeah, we need the cut buddy on our shelf because these metal blades, they're going to be hot. They're going to cut people. They're going to mess up. So learn how to sell fear. Politicians are the experts on selling you fear on things that actually aren't crazy going on. They'll say like, this will be a little problem and they'll make it seem like apocalypse is happening. Become that person. 48 Laws of Power. If you don't read that book, then what are you doing in entrepreneurship? So 48 Laws of Power, I didn't read it. I listened to it because I don't read that fast, but get you that book. So you're going to meet with this buyer at line review. You're going to show them the product. You're going to sell them fear, why your product is great, why these competitors are this, why is your price better? And then they're going to review that product. And within a few weeks, they'll tell you, we want to put your product in 400 stores. That's called your soft award. At that point, that's where you start panicking because you're broke and you're like, shoot, I'm going to be in 400 Target stores. Where am I going to get the money? Do I got to remortgage my house? Do I got to sell my wedding ring? These are all stories about entrepreneurs that I had to do that. I didn't have to sell our wedding ring. I had to remortgage my house. Because when they sent that award, I was like, where am I getting $200,000 from? You know? So you're going to have to do things to get money. But at the same time, if you take this soft award and you go to an investor, that's an easier thing to tell an investor, I'm doing great. Walmart sent me a soft award. Can I have $1 million? But if you go there with an idea that's not proven, they're not going to invest in your product because there's no track record unless your cousin or your uncle is their best friend or something, you know? Unfortunately, a lot of us don't have the opportunity to knock on a venture capitalist's door and be like, give me this money because my uncle is so-and-so. So many of us have to bootstrap, which means, you know, holding yourself up by the bootstrap with your own money by reinvesting it. So when you get your soft award, within a few months, they're going to send you the hard award, which tells you money, stores, and which items they're going to take. At that point, you know you have a contract with them. And you need to deliver the product before something called a line set. And a line set happens every year. Stores turn over their shelves and they put new products up there. Please understand that a Walmart does not get bigger. It stays the same size. So when you're trying to get on the shelf, they have to take down a product that's probably been there for a long time, that's probably not performing, and put your product up there. They're not going to add shelf space for you. You're just replacing space. All right. So that's the retail game. You meet with these buyers, you sell them fear, you get your awards. And sometimes it takes meeting these buyers one time, or sometimes it takes meeting these buyers 5 to 10 times. So I have companies that are doing very well and they still can't crack Target or Walmart. Why? Because one of those areas they are not good in, and it's usually selling fear, or they usually don't have a salesman who walks into that room and commands the respect. You know, you have to walk into there and make the buyer feel like you know your industry better than they do. Because as soon as they smell that you have not had experience and you're looking up to them, it's like, oh, please take my product. They're not going to take your product. You have to be the boss when you go in there and tell them what's going on in the industry so that they're like, man, I didn't know that was going to go on. We got to get these guys on. So great question. So when your product's not able to sell on retail shelves, they're going to do a buyback on you, which means they're going to lower the cost of your product to either see if a lower cost will change the demand of customers, or they're going to lower the cost so that they can get rid of the inventory and get rid of your product the next year. That's the last thing you want. You don't want to have a buyback. You don't want to have have in-stock issues, which I have. You don't want to have so many stores that need your product that when you're manufacturing the product, you didn't do a good job timing your manufacturing, where you're sending your product and it's getting to the store a month late. That's a no-no, because you're this little piece of space in Walmart on a shelf. Can anybody guess how much that's worth? That contract is probably worth about $5 to $10 million over time. You know, so if you're not getting your product to Walmart, Walmart's losing $5 to $10 million because you're not sending it on time. So in stock rate and other metrics in stores is called units per store per week. So in your industry, you need to be meeting the minimum thresholds of units per store per week, because that means that if you have a 1.0 units per store per week, that means that people are buying 1 unit in average all your stores per week, which sounds like very little, but all they're asking you is for one person to go into each of those stores and buy 1 unit of your product per week, because they know by week 7 or 8, they would have sold out all of the inventory that you sent to them. So that's retail. And retail gives you an opportunity to really increase your offering. So now I have clippers, trimmers, bald shavers, a shaping tool. Now, one thing that you guys are going to have to focus on learning, which has never been figured out yet, is retargeting customers for this is some serious stuff. Retargeting customers in Walmart and Target, right? So Amazon does not share customer information with you. Very hard to retarget the customer. Your website, you have that customer's information. Very easy to retarget the customer. Walmart and Target, someone goes in and buys the product. Walmart and Target doesn't send you their information when they buy the product, because that's Walmart and Target's customer. How are you going to retarget that person that went into Walmart and bought your product? How are you going to contact them again? Is something that will make somebody a billionaire very soon if you can figure it out, right? Now, naturally, we've been trying to solve it. So somebody buys the product, and hopefully if they have any issues or they want to learn more, they can scan a QR code that comes with the actual product. We're actually putting QR codes on the actual product. So like if ever you scan it, then it asks you for your email, it brings you to a resource page. That's all I can come up with right now. If somebody comes up with a way how to retarget a customer from an actual physical store, they're going to be very rich. So I don't know what that is putting a tracking chip in each of your products so that it like dings up on their phone, a push notification like, hey, you got the bulk, buddy, give us your email. But then you got a privacy issue there, so you got to figure that out. But that's big box retail. And when I say big box retail, I mean like Walmart, Target, really big places. There's grocery and there's other areas as well. That is where I'm at right now. At that point, you're trying to raise money. You're trying to raise money to scale through venture capitals or high net worth individuals. And at that point is where you begin to create a social mission. Social missions are very important, A, for sales, but A, for your company to have a heart somewhere. So for our social mission, it's called Shave and Save. So we donate part of our proceeds to veterans with disabilities in dexterity and mental health. So every time somebody buys something, we send a few cents to stop soldier suicide or something like that. So I think that's like the new wave of what's going on with companies like Bombas. I saw they helped build a village in Africa or something like that. So like many companies are now aligning themselves with social missions. So that's why you see like many of our products have the military fatigue on it. And the whole reason why that actually came about is because that veteran, when people were roasting my hairline, that veteran sent me an email saying that the product was critical to his confidence and to his life. So without that email, the business wouldn't be around. So that's why our social mission is catered to disabled veterans. Does anybody have any questions? I think you basically got it my whole life. I haven't held back anything at all here. Yeah, so that's when you do your marketing with the affiliates, you want to plug in an app to your Shopify website. So I use Lead Dino. Yeah. Oh, so the videos that solve the problem. So like I would cut my own hair or edge up my own hair with my actual product, and then I would post my website on there. And that's as simple as that what it was. But that never got the sales to go above like 4 or 5 sales a day. And that's why I piggybacked on nano influencers because they had that cult following and people that religiously watch their channels that would buy, you know. Yeah. There any other?
Why is the cause-based stuff important to you? The shave and save, and why is that important? Having a mission.
Um, well, there's two things I think for myself is that I've promised myself is that one, I want to die with my head empty. As weird as that sounds, like I don't want to die keeping secrets. So like that's why everything I'm telling you here is actually what happened and how I became successful. I haven't held any secrets back. So if you follow this to a T, you should do all right. And two, I definitely feel that as much as we've been sold this thing in high school with recruiters for the army that you go into the army and then you come back and get this great job and then you end up getting you could live a life of $100,000-$200,000 or whatever. That's not what we're seeing. And we're seeing guys come back with mental health issues which may lead to suicide or them harming family and stuff like that. I just feel like veterans have been forgotten after we've asked them to do so much. And it isn't our responsibility to take care of that because the government put them in that situation. But I feel we do have to step up and try and help as many people as we can because we're seeing more shootings happen. We're seeing more gun-related violence from veterans happen. So it's like if I can stop one suicide or one shooting from happening, then I feel I've done something to keep us alive and have helped a veteran stay alive.
Thank you for talking to us today.
No problem.
My name is Prem. I was just curious. So you were talking about how expensive it is to get ad space on ABC and all, and how you hack the system. What are your thoughts on like the new age of like TikTok ads and stuff? I checked you guys don't have a TikTok account.
Yeah, so the reason we don't have a TikTok account is because we hired an influencer called Lil Ha, he has one of the most like followers in his space for TikTok. And he said that if I did a video for you on TikTok and I tagged your company and they went to your TikTok account and you had 12 followers, they would think you're a scam business. So disable your account until we get a little more traction going. That's the only reason I'm not on TikTok. Now, TikTok ads right now have one of the highest ROASs, means a return on your ad spend. So TikTok is a great place to advertise. Facebook and Instagram? Nah, son. That's where you waste a lot of. I'm probably wasted $300,000 this year on well, not wasted. You still get to get the customer information, and if you have a 1.0 ROAS, means that you've spent money and you've converted that person and you've kind of broken even. But TikTok and Facebook are ruthless right now because of Apple. Apple's iOS update took away the option for Facebook and Instagram to actually put these cookies on customers and follow them and serve them ads based on their interests. So that means that it got a lot more expensive for us to make ads to find people on Instagram because Apple blocked off all their privacy settings. So TikTok, yes. I think the next frontier is streaming TV. So stream on Hulu. Right now, it's still cheap to put an ad on Hulu or Roku or all those places that we grew up like stealing movies and getting illegal streams that are now becoming big companies like Roku. find within those channels a way to advertise on there. Cause I think one of the best Super Bowl commercials was this company that was a streaming service, and it showed the Super Bowl playing, and then all of a sudden they cut it off, and it looked like you were changing the channel to the streaming platform, and everybody got mad, like, what's changing the channel? And it was like a genius ad that probably cost $5. But I think the streaming channels are the new place to specifically catch older demographics as well, because older demographics now on Facebook, Instagram, or whatever. So, and then don't ever forget the power of snail mail. If you have older people who are your demographic that love reading the paper or love opening their mail because that's all they do during the day in a nursing home, snail mail could be great, you know? So I think that's been forgotten.
I liked your customer segmentation where you talked about, people with disabilities, people with the military. It sounds like your first user persona though was a guy named Joshua because you solved your own problem.
He may have been, yeah.
So how has that changed from the initial persona to those other segments?
Yeah, so naturally, I just always thought it would be for someone who looked at me. But now that we are attacking other problems like irritation and ingrown hairs when you shave, or like balding men, or just cutting your hair, it's become tougher to realize who our demographics were. And we're still trying to figure that out. So like it's weird. We released this Bald Buddy product, and I thought it was gonna be Black males who have irritation and need something better to shave their head. I was totally wrong. Black males were afraid of this product because they thought it was gonna chip their head, and it became our main demographic is conservative white males. It's actually pretty interesting because I've gotten racist emails like literally saying, I didn't know this was owned by a Black guy, I need to return this product. Like these are real things going on here. But that was an interesting thing to find out, that 50 to 70-year-old white conservative males who have like an affiliation with the police or like first responders or military became our main demographic for this. So how does a proudly Black owned company now advertise to this demographic? Or do we just cut them off totally? So, people from different backgrounds need to shave their head too. So that has been a challenge on how to change our marketing. And I think lately what we've done is we've leaned into like the Dr. Squatch and Manscaped style marketing, like the funny marketing style, because that's more broad and general. And we're starting to get away from this is what you need to look like on the package to be a user of the Bald Buddy, So it's a tough one.
Any other questions for Josh?
Jalen,
Hey.
I was wondering, do you have advice or like a set of steps to young entrepreneurs like us, like who are students also trying to multitask with life and school and everything? Like, what are the first steps that we need to do to like get our business out there, or even like start a product, like anything? Do you have any just like first steps?
You have to, not listen to your friends and the family that don't believe in your idea. That's the number one reason why people don't start businesses, because they share it with a friend or a family member. Like, it's never going to work. Keep it to yourself. 2, you got to work on your business in the hours when everybody's asleep. You got to wake up at that 4 a.m. a few times a week. You gotta wake up from at 12 from your bed and just put in an hour. And it's really the law of one, because I'm gonna try and do the math here, but if you improve yourself by 1% every day Instead of trying to improve yourself by 100% every day, you're gonna burn out if you improve by 100% tomorrow. If you improve by 1% tomorrow, you're gonna be 101%. If you improve by 1% of 101% the next day, you're gonna be 102 and a little bit, right? So let's talk about exponential growth. So you keep compounding 1% improvement every day. And I think at the end of the year, you end up being 1,700%. Instead of trying to change yourself 100% one day. So it's a slow 1%. What can you do? What can you chip away at the business is the best way to go about it. Don't try and kill yourself and solve the world's mysteries in one day, you know? And showers are great. That's where I come up with some of my best. And I live on a farm with a well, so we run out of water. So I got to come up with my ideas now. You know? So showers are a great place to just relax, feel the steam, and just think about ideas and about the day and be thankful for being alive on top of it. You know?
Any other final questions?
Agree. It's tough. To be honest, I actually didn't want to continue being CEO, and my counterparts said you just stay on for 5 more years until we do like an acquisition or a big raise. But right now, I'm not gonna lie, I'm being dragged along, and I'm putting on this face of this CEO making moves or whatever. But as I said, I just want to be home inventing products. But that all comes down to bandwidth. You got to find other friends. Maybe you give them equity or whatever that are better than you at other things so that they can fill in those roles so that you can go back to your happy place, your joy of whatever you're good at within the business. Yeah.
Yeah, that's a good point. So do you want to expand briefly about who is your team on the Cut Buddy and how the team has grown? And then briefly mention maybe your other business, how is that compared?
Yeah. So I have 2 critical members in my ownership right now. I have Jason Battle, who's actually, it's weird. So he's just me, but he's the one who thinks things out and is patient and calculated. I'm a hothead and I'm aggressive. I usually sound like DMX when I'm at my meetings with other people, but he's just, yeah, right? Buy this product. So anyway, so Jason is just the other side of me who's calculated. So stop, Josh, before you say something wrong, or let's move this way and be calculated. Alex, he's my sniper. So Alex is a friend that I knew from grade school, and he became a music producer, and I managed him in music. We have platinum plaques, as weird as that is. But Alex chose happiness because the music industry is rough. And he went and he got his PhD. But along the way in the music industry, Alex learned how to find anyone's email or contact or get to anybody. So we transferred those skills to the Cut Buddy. I was like, yo, hit up Mark Cuban, hit up Forbes, hit up GQ, hit up Sean Peckus, who's over all of like athletes and stuff like that. Just hit up whoever, and he's the guy who does the snipering. Or even if somebody's infringed on my product, he's the guy who finds their contact and sends them a cease or desist, and we settle up or whatever. He's the one working behind the scenes, but probably the most critical member of our team. So I have those guys, but really the only day-to-day full-time worker is myself in the trenches fighting the wars. But that's going to change soon as we try and raise some money and expand as far as areas that I need help in, But you're going to naturally pick up a bunch of contractors like lawyers, CPAs, intellectual property lawyers. You're going to pick up all these people that become part of your team, but they're expensive, But you need them. You need an accountant. You need a lawyer. You need all those things. So how I would go about it if you just can't manufacture the product yourself, you just don't have the money, you haven't build up your credit, because you'll be amazed how much you can get from banks for business loans and stuff like that if your credit's good. But the way I would go about it is I would go on LinkedIn, find somebody within your industry, or find their email. Like, so let's say you made a hair product, right? And it's great. You reach out to someone like me, my team will look at it and we'll either license it or we'll tell you we can't do anything about it. So that's a great way to get started. So like we have 3 products where we've licensed from other inventors that we thought were useful and great for our company. So reach out to another entrepreneur in that space and see if they'll license it. Make sure you do an NDA. You don't want them, or make sure you file the patent, because you don't want them stealing your idea. It happens, you know. Rocket Reach. Rocket Reach is a dangerous tool. And if you really want to get dirty, you get white pages. So Rocket Reach, you basically be able to type in the person's name or use the link from LinkedIn, drop it in there, and you'll be able to see their work email, their personal email, all their socials, their phone number, all that stuff. Rocket Reach will let you do 5 searches for free, but then you got to pay for it. It's cheap. It's like $60 a year or something like that. There's Rocket Reach, and then Rocket Reach's competitors do those things. Second, there's white pages, which I don't recommend you get, because white pages is going to tell you where they live, their phone number, all that stuff, like who their children are and all that stuff. Yeah. That's when, if I use white pages, is because I just can't get to that person. So like the person who helped me build the Bald Buddy, they wouldn't reply to any of the emails. Maybe they're older and just aren't checking the emails, or they're not at those emails anymore. So I texted their personal number from white pages and I got a reply. Now that can make people upset now. When my brother was going out for football, he plays at Tulane, I was texting recruiters from white pages and I was getting replies, but there may be a coach that's like, how dare you know my phone number? One time I texted a recruiter and it was his dad, because he was like Andrew Tate Jr. or something, or instead of Andrew Tate or whatever. I guess bad name example, but anyway. Any other questions?
Just really, so maybe why did you decide to start a truffle business?
Oh, yeah.
And is there any similarities or differences between physical product and food?
I started a truffle business because I told you guys I'm an inventor that finds gaps in industries. So truffles are mushroom families, tubers that grow on the roots of trees, and they go for like $800 to $3,000 a pound, right? They're very rare. But during World War II, a lot of the truffle farmers in Italy and France died in the war, and they never got to teach their children how to find these truffles with pigs and dogs. Only pigs and dogs could find them, right? So someone comes up with an invention to sniff truffles. But I realized that the production of truffles went down, and then I realized that all the actual truffle farmers that are alive now are like 80 to 85, like they'll unfortunately be gone in the next few years. So I said, well, if I start now and I produce these truffles, I may be one of the only successful truffle farms, as most of the people that had the farms die off. So that's just me being an opportunist in an industry that has gaps. So now I have a farm that's not producing truffles yet, but I make truffle products in Italy and France and Croatia and Spain, and I send them here because I want to get our name out there on Amazon and stuff like that before our farm starts producing stuff. So that's just me being an opportunist, realistically. Your job is just to find gaps in industries where you could fill, you know?